Welcome to Geopolitical Horizon. Today I want to share some thoughts on how geopolitical conflicts around the world prevent the successes needed at Cop26 in Glasgow to drive the renewable transition forward. But before I start, remember to subscribe to Global Horizon and you will receive regular videos on global affairs and international issues, and you will stay informed. If you look in the Global Horizon archive right now, you will see over 100 videos covering all issues around the world. So do remember to subscribe and turn on notifications, and you'll see the videos regularly. Now to COP26 and the geopolitical tensions around the world, because that is what is going to prevent the successes needed to drive the renewable transition forward. So what is the context here internationally as we are now seeing the first days of COP26 in Glasgow? Well, US-China relations are at a low point, US-Russia relations are at a low point, but also the Europe-China relations and Europe-Russia relations are really at a critical low point. We're seeing sanctions imposed both ways. We're seeing harsh rhetoric. We're seeing a very critical tone in relations between China, the US, China, Europe, but also between Russia, the US, and Russia and Europe. So these continuous geopolitical conflicts and the high conflict level in international relations right now prevent the successes needed and also prevent the collaborative atmosphere internationally to really drive the drastic transition that we need to see in the coming decades to reach the climate targets that are going to be very important to prevent the major climate disasters that will have serious geopolitical, social, and human consequences for people around the world. A lot of people that are living, very near the sea level may, be much more exposed, but we're also going to see a myriad of potential climatic consequences over the coming decades, as we've already seen with changing weather conditions and a range of other factors. But in terms of the geopolitical situation, we are right now in a very tense moment in international affairs. This continuous, tensious relationship between US-China, US-Russia, but also Europe-China, Europe-Russia, but also in addition to, tensions between, the US and other countries such as Iran, sanctions imposed, preventing, Iran's economy from growing and developing, but also a range of other issues. Major poverty is a huge factor for a lot of people around the world. I've personally traveled across Asia, Africa, the Middle East, and other regions, such as in Latin America. And what a lot of people forget these days is that large parts of the world, live in extreme poverty. And there are major regions where they lack infrastructure. They lack the basic goods and the basic necessities that people living in Europe or North America take for granted. And therefore, they are going to need to develop their infrastructure. They're going to need to develop their economies. Now, there is, a major focus on a green shift and a green finance deal that already have seen some good results at COP26 in Glasgow in recent days. But the question is it enough, and how will it actually be implemented? These are just some questions that I think a lot of people around the world living in areas where they see extreme poverty, where they see basically no infrastructure and a very challenging situation, how can they actually assume or expect that their life conditions will change? We're talking about basically basic needs here that need to be met: electricity, energy, infrastructure, connectivity. These are just some very important factors that I think for emerging countries, emerging markets are going to be very, very important going forward. Therefore, while there are going to be some successes, and we already have seen some successes, cuts in methane emissions, and a large deal reached on deforestation, important steps, but we're also seeing increasing financing from not only a lot of countries, but also major philanthropists such as Jeff Bezos and other foundations that are really going to invest now in the renewable transition. That is very positive. However, in terms of developing, the economies that are not developed, they're going to need major investments in infrastructure, industrial development, economic development, and that is going to be critical. Therefore, that combined with the continuous geopolitical conflicts that we see in the world right now, it remains to be seen if we're going to be able to reach the global climate deals that are needed. Not only the countries at COP26, but really the global environment, because we need to change certain things, I think, to reach the global deals that are needed to drive the renewable transition forward. And that is going to be very important, I think, because if the US-China relationship continues in such a tense way, and we're going to see more harsh rhetoric, we're going to see more challenges going both ways, but also in the US-Russia relationship, and in terms of Iran, are we going to see a continuous US sanctions policy towards Iran in the coming years? What are going to be the consequences of that? So, I mean, there are a lot of questions around the world now in terms of geopolitical issues that I think prevent the successes needed at COP26. If President Xi of China, if President Putin of Russia, if President Raisi of Iran, if President Erdogan of Turkey, if President Bolsonaro of Brazil had all been present at COP26, in addition to the other leaders that are not attending, that would have been very important, but they are not. So in terms of the situation right now, geopolitically, tensions are rising very high on a range of issues between many countries for different reasons. And I think that is going to prevent the successes needed to drive the renewable transition forward in the coming decades. We're also seeing changes in relations between Europe and the US. Although Europe and US have been allies for now many years, still we are seeing issues rising. From time to time, we saw it with the NATO exit from Afghanistan. We saw it with the AUKUS deal. Now, by President Biden and President Macron, they have met finally. And, it seems that, US-France relations are somewhat back on track. But I do think France now realized that, anything can happen. And the US can change its position and can make new deals. That may cut into French deals, as we saw with the AUKUS deal. So I think that even US-European relations are somewhat changing, and as I've argued in previous videos, I think in the long term we're also probably going to see some increasing divisions between the US and Europe. So, but also remains to be seen how that goes forward, and how that may impact large global issues such as the climate issue. But again, the geopolitical conflict level globally is very high, and the many geopolitical conflicts that we are seeing across the world prevent the move forward on the climate issues globally that really are going to be needed to drive the renewable transition. So that is the basic thesis, and really the main thought of this video and this program that I wanted to share. So I hope that gives you some important takeaways. But thank you so much for joining, and again, please remember to subscribe to Global Horizon. I look forward to see you again. Thank you.